Hey there, welcome. My name is Jessica Buchanan, and I'm a New York Times bestselling author, professional speaker, and founder of Soul Speak Press, a non-traditional publishing company created for women who've been through something, now they know something, and they can teach us something. In Her Words is a podcast designed to support aspiring memoir authors on their writing and publishing journey. It's hard work, this writing and publishing stuff, and I want to empower you with encouragement and information so you can keep sharing your truth. So grab your coffee, your notebook, find a quiet space, and let's dive in. All right, welcome back to In Her Words. I have been looking forward to this interview all summer. We booked it way back, I don't know, when life was different and we had the whole summer in front of us, and now it's fall. We are talking today, as if I'm more than one person, I am talking today to Ashley Bunting, who is the head of publishing for Merack. And she is literally the person who, when you come to Soul Speak Press and you work with us and we send your manuscript through to Ilsa and she does all her copy editing magic, we compile everything together and then I share your manuscript with Ashley and leave it in her capable hands. She is really the person in her team who get your book out into the world. And so I wanted to have you on, Ashley, to talk just, about publishing and learn more about the publishing process and what it entails for prospective authors who especially come to us and are like, you charge how much? Because they don't really understand this like
Totally.
non-traditional hybrid approach. Yeah, we charge this much because there are like 6 zillion steps involved and so many people. So first of all, long intro, welcome. Thank you for all you do. I'm so grateful.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat about this. I absolutely love working with you and your authors and your team. So I'm excited to chat and give people a little bit more insight into what happens because publishing is very much a you don't know what you don't know type of
Yes.
industry. Everyone who
Yes.
meets me and asks what I do, and I tell them I'm a book publisher, they're like, I've never met one of those before. So chances are they really have no clue what's happening behind the scenes. So I'm hoping we can shed a bit of light today on that.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Okay, why don't you give us a little background? Where are you? Who are you? How'd you get into book publishing?
Sure. Yeah, it's a bit of a windy route, so I'll keep it short. But I'm actually based in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Mhm.
My other half and partner in business is Krista, and she is sort of
Yep.
San Diego based, but all around. So
Yep.
we met here in Vancouver when I just graduated from the University of British Columbia with an English lit degree that I then called my what now degree because I had gone to university thinking I'd be a teacher. Loved English, loved writing, loved every aspect of communication and language, but realized that beyond my own 3 boys, I didn't really have it in me to be teaching other people's children on a daily basis. So,
I
you
feel
know,
that deep in my soul.
exactly. So thank goodness for those people that do, but it
Mhm.
wasn't me.
Yep.
So we took a very winding route through the world of personal branding together, Krista and
Uh-huh.
I, and that was her expertise. She had written a book, and being an entrepreneur, she's the type of person who, if there's a hole in what she needs, she fills it. And for
Yeah.
her, that was publishing. And so, this was back in the early 2000s when the options were really self-publish and figure everything out yourself,
Yep.
or go the traditional route, and it would take a lot of time. And so Merack was born out of that need that she had. And then in 2018, I really stepped into that role full force. I could call my parents and say, I'm actually doing something with this university degree now that is pertains to it. And I just fell in love with the process. I'm such a book lover. I love
Uh-huh.
reading. I love audiobooks. Give me any book and I'll read it. Preferably nonfiction, which is great because that's what we
Right.
focus on here.
Yeah.
Um, so that's sort of my long and winding quick story of how I got
Okay.
to where I was. But we really brought it to life because we realized how many people out there have a story, have a platform that they want to grow. And a book is an amazing way to be able to do that in a really beautiful, concise option that can spread your message to so many people. And we
Mhm.
wanted it to be accessible to more people. So it's not just those who the traditional publishers deem worthy. It's everyone who, and that's what I love about your authors is you're giving these women an opportunity to share their stories. And I'm really passionate about that. So
Yeah.
That's where we sort of got to where we are today, which is focusing on the publishing production piece for amazing authors and imprints like yours.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's so, yeah, all of that is just, yeah, every time I have a prospective author call, again, they don't know what they don't know. And I try to be just like really honest and transparent about my experience in this industry. And I'm a hybrid author. I've published traditionally and non-traditionally. I had a great experience traditionally, but I also am like one in a million when it comes to that kind of experience, right? And so oftentimes they come to me, their stories are fascinating. Maybe they're good writers, maybe they've got, some experience writing. They don't understand. Sometimes they come deflated because they've been rejected over and over again, or just like have heard crickets when they're querying. Um, and then they feel really overwhelmed with the idea of self-publishing, and that kind of feels like giving up for them as well. So yeah, so then they find us somehow, and but then I'll quote, the price for the investment package, and their eyes just like, you can see it like come over their faces, and I'm like, "Oh, I know, I get it. I've been there before." But talk to us a little bit about like why publishing is so expensive.
For sure. So I get that question a lot too on my end.
Yeah.
And, it's a big investment. It's not inexpensive, but my take on it is that you have to get to the point where you have a manuscript. You have invested so much time, energy, love, thought. It's such an emotional investment to put
Yeah.
your story and your words onto a page that it can be done cheaply, but it shouldn't be, because what you have produced is already so valuable and so important that when we are looking to design your cover, I always say, people say you don't judge a book by its cover. Absolutely, you do in this
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
It's so valuable and so important that we have a beautiful cover. And then when they open the book, you have an inside that feels cohesive with your cover and the story that you're telling. And you have paper that doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. And
Yes.
it's just, it's really important to me. I've tried lots of designers, and we have a couple of amazing ones on our team. I've tried to bring the price down by going to other designers who don't maybe specialize in book design, and
Hmm.
it's just not worth it, because
Hmm.
I want the cover, the interior, every inch of your book to represent the work that you've put in.
Yeah.
And to do that, it's worth the investment, even for me in my business, to make sure that I have the best of the best when they're designing your covers. And then there's all of the steps that happen in behind the scenes that people don't realize, and all of the small purchases that are involved. Things like registering your book with Library of Congress, filing with US copyright, submitting, all of the claims for that. Those all cost money and they
Yeah.
take time. And we
Yeah.
have a team that does that for you. It's always the real technical bits that people don't realize exist. And so that's
Hmm.
sometimes hard to wrap your head around the cost of what else am I paying for? Quality proofreaders are
Yes.
every penny that we pay them.
Yes.
Because once your book is out there, I mean, the beauty of print on demand is that we can catch an error and
Yeah.
make a change. But once someone has that book in their hand and they find a glaring error, and then they go and leave a review that says this book looks sloppy, it's written
Right.
poorly, we can't walk those back. And so
Right.
again, in part of putting out a really great high quality product is a really great proofreader before it goes out the door. And so those are some of the big key investment pieces: the design element, the proofreading element, and then just the laundry list of technical tasks that are involved in producing the book and setting your book up for success. So things like keywords and
Yes.
category optimization, those take time. They're important. They need to be done so that when you actually launch the book, they're ready to go and it's positioned in a place that's going to see you climb the charts for, a successful launch. But those are kind of the main big areas that drive the cost. And yes, those can be done cheaper, like I said. No, I don't believe they should, just simply
Right.
because of the fact that this is a legacy piece for each of
Yes.
the authors. This is going to outlast you.
Yeah.
And so being able to have something that you are super proud of and that looks and reads beautifully is really important to me as the person working on the book. And I know to you as
Yes.
as the publisher for these books. And so hopefully that gives a little insight into sort of where some of those costs fall, and why we charge what we do.
Yeah. I love that so much. That's so helpful. Um, okay, so like let's talk about like the process. So when I share 80,000 to our anthologies can be like 120,000 words. When I share one of those documents with you, what happens next?
Sure. So that's we call it the fun part. And I think other people would run screaming from the real technical pieces.
I'm always like, it's
That's
like
where all
such
the self
a weird feeling to sit there at my computer and be like, okay, I'm sharing it with Ashley now. I'm sharing it with Ashley now. And then every single time I'm like 5 minutes later, oh shit. Somebody just told me, especially with the anthologies, because you're dealing with so many different people. They're like, oh, they just said that their name was spelled wrong or their Instagram handle is wrong or something. Disregard.
Yeah, the anthologies are definitely more challenging on that
Yes.
aspect because we've got so many people to cross-check with,
Yeah.
but I love it. It's fun working with all of those people. So when the manuscript comes to us, you also actually send a bunch of things. So, every book has what we call front and back matter. So we need to have things like a dedication. We need to have author bios. We want to make sure that requests for permission are going to the right person. So we start collecting all of that information because we need to sort of input that into your manuscript at the front, at the back. Do you need QR codes and sales pages to direct people to a website? So those are sort of the first things we do with the manuscript itself. And then it goes through what we call a markup process, essentially, which is us taking a virtual highlighter to your Word document or your Google Doc and marking up where we want our designer to pay attention. So a lot of books have call out boxes. They have photos and images that need to be inserted. We've got quotes that we want to pull out. So we go through and actually take a first pass at saying, hey, this feels important. This needs to be done differently, so that when we send it off to our design team, they know what they're looking for and they can figure out, where they need to make some design elements pop on the page.
Okay.
Before that manuscript goes to them, though, they're working on the front cover because the front cover is, the be all end all. I know with you and your authors, we start with that as the very first piece.
Yeah.
Sometimes we even have the manuscript because
Yep.
once we have that locked title, we can really set the tone for what it is that we're creating with the book by
Yep.
figuring out the front cover design. And so that's often where there's the most back and forth. I will never be the type of person that says you absolutely can't have that on your cover because this cover is yours and it represents what you've put inside. We'll make suggestions and our
Sure.
designers are, paying attention to key trends, but we want to make sure that the cover represents who you are and what you're reading. There's nothing worse than a cover and you open it up and you're like, this doesn't vibe with what
Jive.
what they're telling us inside. So those sort of things are happening often simultaneously, that we're getting that front cover designed. We're marking up the interior. McKenna, who's my amazing right arm, is setting up she's the best. I absolutely love her.
Yeah.
She is setting up all of the technical pieces. So account platforms, registering the book, getting things set up with Amazon and Ingram, who are your two big distributors for print on demand. Just a lot of those little technical niggly pieces. Library of Congress has to give you a pre-assigned control number. So we're filing for these types of things. We're getting ISBNs and barcodes. We're compiling all of the technical elements that have to happen so that when that front cover is designed, we can hand the entire manuscript with all of these little bits and pieces over to the design team and say, great, take what we've done with the front cover and bring it to life with the words inside. And then that's the second big piece.
Mm-hmm.
Once that happens, we go back and forth a little bit, but generally once that front cover is locked, there doesn't have to be too much back and forth on the interior because it's already sort of designed and ready to go. We get it uploaded, printed proofs go in the mail because that is the key piece. And it's also exciting. Like I love when authors send me a photo of them opening their package that's arrived with their first physical copy, because holding your actual book in your hands is, it feels like the finish line is in sight on a marathon.
Yes.
So that's really important. But also, as you are very well aware, every time we get a physical copy in our hands and look at it, you catch about a million things that you didn't see when it was in a Google Doc. And it's always amazing I mean, you can speak to that, how much we tend to find in print.
Yeah, I mean it. And then once we get through that process, I'm like, this book is perfect.
Yes.
Like that is something that I feel like at the end of the day, I can hang my hat on is that I know, I mean, I don't even know how many rounds of edits you guys do. I know we go through at least four,
Yeah.
as, and then maybe five once that proof copy comes out. Like there is not one mistake in these books once they finally go to their launch. And that, I mean, it's like so time consuming and kind of excruciating, but at the same time, I'm like, I can guarantee you that you have had like at least six real people who are like certified in what they're doing look at your book before it goes to press.
Yeah. And that goes back to the cost piece, right? Is that
Yes.
investment in making sure that it is perfect?
Yeah.
Because again, many eyes are key.
Yeah.
I can read a book over and over and over in a Google Doc, and then I give it to somebody else and they'll find 20 things. And it's like, what? How did I miss
Yeah.
this? But I've read it too many times. I can't
Yeah.
see the forest through the trees. So it needs
Exactly.
to go to somebody else. We need to send it to your editor. We need to print a proof copy for ourselves and look at it. Ilsa needs to look at it.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to put eyes on it on the screen and then in the physical copy so that we have that peace of mind that when your book launches, you know, it's going to be right and it's going to be
Yeah.
done. And that's another piece of the process for us too, is we do ebooks. So ebook
Hmm.
conversion is part of your package,
Hmm.
but ebook conversion is taken from the laid out interior PDF of your book. And so that is sort of the next step in the publishing process because it can't happen until we know there's no mistakes. It's much easier to, make edits and revisions in a design file for the paper version than it is the ebook. So that's sort of where the ebook comes into play is later in the process once it's gone through all the revisions and we know, okay, this is clean. We have seen it from all angles upside down and we're ready to go. Now we lock that interior and we go to ebook conversion so that we have it available paperback, ebook. Some people do a hardcover, not everyone. Paperback is definitely the most common. And then ebook is just great to have as a tool for marketing and launch as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So why would like because I've never done a hardcover either, just because they're more expensive, right? Is
Yeah.
that the
The
only
print
reason?
cost is much higher on the
Yeah.
hardcover.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have a hardcovers of my first book, of course, that are still, I guess, kind of in circulation, but I don't even know if you can buy them anymore because they get discontinued after a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hardcovers are an interesting one because they're such a traditional way of doing books. And
Hmm.
some people still really love that and feel like it's not a book unless there's all versions available. And I
Yeah.
totally get that. There's also a shift from dust jacket hardcovers to what we
Hmm.
call case bound, where, I've got all these lovely
Yeah.
cookbooks behind me. It's printed right on the hardcover itself
Yep.
because most readers are like me. And if you get a dust jacketed book, that dust jacket comes flying off.
Yep.
It's never to be seen again. I don't want to fiddle with it when I'm reading the book. And they're costly
Yeah.
because you're now adding that extra layer to your printing. So a book that might be, for example, $4 to print in paperback could be upwards of $10 a copy just to print.
Yeah.
So you're having to price it quite high in the current market, and you're
Mhm.
also, not making anything on that book. So for some people, it's just something that they feel is important to them to have. Oftentimes people do it if they are looking to gift their book. They want to have it, in a hardcover format, but it's definitely not a necessity and something that is we're open to,
Yeah.
but it's a
Yeah.
choice, it's a personal preference for
Yeah.
sure.
That's interesting. I think that that's just like an interesting little tidbit of information. It's not something that I talk to clients about very often because we always just like go right to paperback. But okay, so what would you say are the most challenging parts of publishing? Give me top
Um,
three most challenging.
yeah, I mean, given the day, there's always something where I want to run screaming from this industry, but it generally
Some of your subject lines and emails just make me like guffaw at my desk because they're like in the next edition of Amazon makes me want to pull my hair out.
yeah. And that's number one on the list is
Yeah.
Amazon. And Amazon, anytime you're working with a third party platform and things are out of your control, it's just a headache. And Amazon, I have a friend and he works in a totally different industry that also deals with Amazon. And when we pick our kids up from school, it's like a daily gripe fest about how Amazon has screwed him over versus what they've done to me that day. And I really love having somebody that relates to, my job stress when it comes to that. But, essentially, Amazon is a massive platform. They do not put customer service at the forefront. In fact, it's often hard to reach anybody at all. They don't respond to you. You're playing by their rules, and their rules change
All the
weekly,
time. Yeah.
usually on a Friday afternoon when I'm shutting off for the week and with no warning. So, I loved sending you the email to be like, hey, Jess, we used to be able to pick 10 categories. And this afternoon they announced that now it's only 3 and they're suggestions. So that is the number one challenge. And I hear often, oh, well, Amazon is platform there. It's called Kindle Direct Publishing or KDP. I've heard I can self-publish. It's supposed to be really user-friendly for, self-publishers. It is not user-friendly for anyone. So if we can provide you the support in handling them and dealing with them, and I literally spend hours of my life trying to figure out what their next move is so that I can anticipate that and set you up for success. Let me help you because I don't want to put this on anybody else. So Amazon obviously is a big one. The second one I think is people's expectations of their book. And, I try and temper reality with dreaming big with you, but I had an author that launched 2 weeks ago and I thought she did great based on what I know of the industry and what I know of what book sales look like. And she was so disappointed. And I was trying to explain that actually this is a lot of books sold, so that's something that's hard because again, people are really excited and then it launches and they're like, oh, I thought I would sell more and I've got a really big network. But it turns out, one, getting people to buy your book and two, getting them to leave a review are exceedingly challenging problems.
So hard.
Yeah. So I just, it always just, my heart hurts for them when they're like, this didn't go well. And I want to, reassure them that actually, yes, it did.
Yeah.
So just managing expectations and helping people see that it's not also just that launch day, but what your book can do beyond.
Yes.
This is now a calling card. It's a business card. It's an opportunity for you to, I always say it's a really expensive key to other opportunities.
Yeah.
So being able to take that book and using it for those opportunities is part of that big picture. So that's something that I just personally find challenging is wanting people to feel the success that they actually have achieved and earned. I mean, most of the time we can hit those bestseller lists and that's exciting and helps to validate, but just making sure that they understand that what they've done, just getting a book to completion is a massive accomplishment that most people dream of and will never do. Yeah. So, just making sure that authors understand the reality of book sales and how that's going to look, but also that this is such an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is just probably, all the little technical odds and sods and making sure that all of those things line up for a successful launch day. And that's the beauty of us having a team to do that for you because we can scramble and make all of those things happen behind the scenes so that our authors can focus on just being excited about their book and not having to think about, did we flip this switch? Do we have that number? Has this registration been done? Yeah. It's a stress on our end, but that's where I want it. I would like it to be stressful for us and not for the authors because I want them to enjoy the moment for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think, again, our authors don't know what they don't know, but they have no idea the level of stress that I'm feeling on launch day is tenfold that you're feeling on launch day. And they're feeling stressed or excited or, nervous, but they have no, they have no idea the exchange that's going on between you and me when I'm like, oh my gosh, I just checked Amazon and they haven't dropped it to 99 cents yet for the ebook. And you're like, I'm on it. I'm calling them
Yes.
hour. I'm hassling them. The one thing they hate is when I hassle them like this, and so I can breathe and be like, Merack's on it. They're on it.
Yeah.
Don't
And
worry.
over here, I'm running around like a complete stressed out
I know.
crazy lady,
Very
but
sorry about that.
yeah, but that's part of the gig. And so,
Yeah.
that's the point, is
Yeah.
that all of our authors are doing other big things with their life. And so
Mhm.
the beauty of having a team of expertise behind you is that you can still focus on the other pieces of your life and setting your book and often your brand and your
Yeah.
platform up for success, and let us stress about it and worry about it.
Mhm.
Because I also have the solutions. So while I'm stressing,
Exactly.
I also know what steps to take to rectify these situations as
Yeah.
best as possible. So yeah.
Yeah. And I have never, and we've published a lot with you and we have a lot in the pipeline. I have never taken a problem to you and said, and you've never responded with, well, I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah.
You're always like, okay, we'll figure it out. I've seen this before. Oh, this is a new one. All right, we'll figure it out. Like I can't believe the piece that I can go into these contracts and working with these authors and these really big projects, like curating other anthologies and like doing all of this stuff, knowing that our manuscripts are in such good hands. I just, I just don't worry about it. It's awesome. It's worth every single penny as far as I'm
Amazing.
concerned. Yeah. So what would you say like are your top three favorite parts of the publishing industry?
Oh my gosh, I just love how many unique stories are out there.
Mhm.
And honestly, I always tell people that I have no ego in this game. I don't care if your book has my imprint on the spine, if it has my name anywhere in it. I just want to be a part of getting your story out to the world and doing it beautifully, because there's nothing cooler than seeing, someone be able to share a grief journey or a story of overcoming, like your authors, and then having people respond to them and say, this was life changing for me, or this was the exact book that I needed to find. And being able to be a piece of that is something that actually adds so much value to my life personally. So the fact that that is what I get to do for a profession is just the coolest. Like, I really think I have the best job of all time when I'm not stressing out. So um
Yeah, exactly.
that's the best part for me, hands down, is the people and the stories and the experience that they have with this process. On the other side of it, I just am fascinated by the entire ever-changing, evolving publishing production situation. I was never somebody who could sit and do the same job, hence why I wasn't a teacher, year in and year out. I come from an entrepreneur parent who just does everything everywhere all the time, and that's who I was. And so this job gives me that opportunity. Publishing is just cool. There's so many advancements, evolvements, things that we get to look at every day. It's never the same day. Every author and every book are different. The steps are the same, but
Mhm.
the people and the stories and the method that we take to bring it to life changes every day. And I just absolutely love that piece of
Yeah.
it. And then third, I just don't want to see people's stories die. So it's important to me that we hold on to this. AI is becoming a big thing in our
Mm.
industry.
Which was going to be my next question.
Yeah. And, just to very briefly touch on the fact that I want to make sure that we're writing books and
Yeah.
we're producing books that are, as one of my authors called it, human made. She put
Yeah.
that sticker on her cover as a sort of
Mhm.
piece of the design, because that's where we're shifting to. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure that written stories that are, spoken word, truthful,
Mhm.
honest, human made pieces are existing. So that's
Yeah.
definitely my third big piece that I love about it. And now, how do we protect that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, how are we going to protect that? Like, how is AI threatening? Is that too big? I don't know if that's
No,
too.
I mean, I think that there was a lot of, when this really sort of started to explode last year, our
Mhm.
industry panicked, I think,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
we have writers who can be replaced. AI can
Yeah.
write full chapters. We have,
Right.
you know, even programs like Grammarly that are going to get that much more advanced that,
Yeah.
at this point cannot. My proofreader, Amy, she,
Mhm.
bless her, she is better than Grammarly times
Yeah.
10. the day will come when these things advance, and cover designs, people are doing AI cover designs.
Mhm.
So as a whole, every piece of what we're doing is being automated, is being touched by AI
Yeah.
in some way. But how do we sort of can maintain that human connection element, and understanding that having a real human who understands the emotions and the feelings of your work when they're designing your cover can't be replicated
Yeah.
at this point anyways by AI, because somebody who draws inspiration when they're designing your cover from the stories you've shared in your pages is going to do a much more accurate, beautiful depiction of your work
Mhm.
than a program. So
Yeah.
that's sort of that piece of it. And then from a technical side, both Amazon and Ingram have started putting up some roadblocks and some red flags around AI. We started about 9 months ago having to disclose to both platforms if the cover or the interior used AI.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And when they first put that up, they didn't actually tell me what was going to result. If I was to say, for example, yeah, the cover was done with AI, what now? And
Uh-huh.
so, it was really important to be able to try and figure out what will the result of that be? What will be the hurdles that we're going to face? And it looks like with Ingram, they're now shifting towards rejecting any AI material.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, we just went through a challenge with them, that a book that we had worked on and we had actually written. Our team, we have some ghostwriters
Mhm.
that we work with. So we wrote the book, and I mean, it went back and forth between all of us editors, check this paragraph. So I know that we wrote this thing. I can
Right.
100%. They flagged it as AI, even though they couldn't give us a reason why they felt like it was AI, and I didn't disclose it. And in the end, we won the challenge, and back and forth
Okay.
with, we were able to prove, here's all the track changes in a Google
Yeah.
Doc. But
Yeah.
it was a bit scary and daunting to now
Yeah.
say, okay, they just flat out reject it from their catalog, and too bad, this book will never see the light of day unless you challenge it. So it's
That
going to
is
be,
super
yeah,
scary.
right. It was, but
Yeah.
this is going to be part of the process as
Mhm.
they try and flag it. We try and figure out
Why
what
they're
needs to be
flagging it, what
done.
makes it
Yeah,
flaggable. Like, is your
exactly.
writing just like that good that it made
Yeah.
it like seem,
Yeah. Or if it's like a certain line, I mean, it was a more technical book when it came to
yeah,
investment stuff. And so some of that terminology is just, it exists
yeah,
in the ether of
yeah,
where they pull this stuff from. So yeah, it'll be a big piece of what we look at going forward, and something that I'm continually reading up on to figure out, okay, well, what does this mean for my authors? Amazon
Mhm.
has yet to actually lay any real groundwork or framework around what the cause would be, but I'm sure that's to come. So I will definitely keep you posted as I
Yeah,
get
definitely.
information.
I hope we're like in the safe zone with memoir, but you never know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Um, okay. Before I let you go, what is one thing that you feel like an aspiring author who's listening to this episode, one takeaway that you would like to leave them with as the person who is in, who's going to make or break their dream really in
Yeah,
terms of
for sure.
accessibility.
I think just know and understand at your core that your story is important. It's
Mhm.
important to you, and it's important to somebody else, even if it's one other person, that sharing it could be a game changer for somebody else's life. And obviously we encourage and support you to work with Jess, work with me. We'll
Mhm.
create this beautiful book. If that just really isn't attainable right now, either work towards it or find a way to put your book out there, because I believe that it's valid and it's important and it's needed. And don't just write it and let it sit. It's a
Yeah.
legacy thing for you. And so find a way to make it happen, and, reach out, and we will support the best that we can in making that happen for you, whether it's with us or with somebody else. Know that your story matters, and we would really be excited to be a part of sharing it with you.
Yeah. So speaking of, and that is so true and such great advice. What kind of submissions does Merack accept? Because again, I always try to make it very clear we're an imprint. because we do strictly memoir.
Yes.
So what does Merack actually
So we
work
do
with?
all aspects of nonfiction.
Okay.
So we do self-help, we do memoir, a lot of business, finance. We've done quite a few real estate books and sort of how-tos.
Mhm.
Our saying at Merack is that our books are one part memoir, one part manual, one part manifesto.
Yep.
So meaning that our books incorporate an element of your personal story of how you got to where you are. The manual component is what can your reader take away from your book? What are you going to leave them with that they can action? And then the manifesto piece is just, what do you believe to be true? What is the platform that you want to build with your book? And how can you share that with the world? So really anything that incorporates those types of aspects that is in the nonfiction genre, we're happy to look at. And yeah, specifically if they're memoir, I usually say, and then we've got Jess, who is the right fit for you over here, because you've got the memoir piece nailed and helping support people to write that type of book as well. So yeah, that's our main focus.
And what would they like if somebody is listening to this and they reach out to you, what would they expect in terms of like next steps?
Yeah, so when we have somebody reach out, you'll probably hear from McKenna because she's a lot faster in my inbox than I am. And she'll send you a submission form that just gives us a little bit more information about where you're at in the writing process, a snippet of your manuscript if you have it, when you're hoping to publish, and sort of what your goal is for the book, so that we can make sure, it's really important to me that we're the right fit for somebody, not just them and us taking their book. I want to make
Yeah.
sure we're the right people. And if we're not, hey, here's somebody I know of that would be a great fit for you and what you're trying to accomplish with your book. So that initial form will be just to get some feelers out around what it is that you're doing. And then if we might be the right fit for you, then we'll set up a call and you'll probably see my face on your screen within a week or so, chatting with you about more about your book in depth and more about our process and how we could help.
Great. And then how long would they expect to like say from contract if they come to you with a finished manuscript, how long would that take?
4 months is our standard
Okay.
process from what we call locked manuscripts. So
Uh-huh.
that's sort of making sure that you've got a clean manuscript ready to go. And then the standard, 4 months, sometimes 6 if we're working through some challenges with the book or some of the design things that we're waiting on. But generally 4 months is what we try and aim for.
Cool. All right. Which
Yeah.
is exponentially faster than any traditional like track you're gonna
Yeah.
take.
I,
Like
I
2 years later, you're still
exactly.
waiting.
Exactly. That's definitely a perk to going this route for sure.
For sure. Okay, Ashley, I just can't thank you enough for your time and for sharing your expertise with us. I'm really excited about this conversation and putting it out there because I think it's going to help a lot of people really understand the kind of like the back end of all of
Yeah,
this
for
and
sure.
the things and again it just keeps coming back to like you don't know what you don't know, and that's the whole point of doing this podcast is trying to just educate for those who do dream of getting their story out there. And before I let's see, it was a couple weeks ago we were in Baltimore filming our book trailer for the anthology, The Losses We Keep, that's coming out in October. And the lead author, Jamie Christ, she was doing her interview. And I can't remember what they asked her, but she like broke down, just like so emotional and so genuine. And she said, getting this book, like writing it, getting all these authors together, getting it published has been it has been like it wasn't like a dream come true, but it was a part of her purpose fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the back and I like started crying, trying to like weep silently in the back corner so it didn't get picked up on
Yeah, that would be
the
me.
filming. Yeah, yeah. But sometimes I think, for me, I get so caught up in the logistics and the checking the boxes and making sure that things are running on track and, we're sticking to our timelines and Lauren's the invoicing, like there's just so much, right? And I forget that we really are getting to play a part in helping somebody fulfill that potential and meeting that part of their purpose that they
Yeah.
had no idea
The
how to
coolest.
access. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And I'm so grateful every day that I met Krista and then I met you. And it's you guys that are helping me fulfill my purpose, So I'm just infinitely grateful. Thank you so much. And always thank you for answering my emails, even if they're like at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I've got you. No, thank you. I'm so thrilled to work with you and your whole, pool of authors every day. It's fun. I
It's
love working with amazing women and authors that you bring to us. So thank you.
Mhm. Just a big love fest.
It is.
Okay. If somebody wants to reach out to you directly, how do they find you? Where do they go?
Ashley at merackpublishing.com or just merackpublishing.com. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'm also an open book, no pun intended, but please, if you have a question that this didn't answer, send
Mhm.
it to me and I'm happy to answer because again, the more informed you are, the more you can start to understand what might lie ahead if you want to go with a book publication process. So please shoot me an email and I am happy to just support and help and encourage, like I said, whether it's with us or another way, just to take that next step to getting your book done.
That's so very generous of you. Thank you so much, Ashley. And to everybody else, I hope that this inspires you and encourages you to just keep writing and then, eventually talk to us about publishing.
You'll be on Jess's wall. Her wall of fame.
In Her Words is hosted by me, Jessica Buchanan, and is produced by Soul Speak Press, a non-traditional publishing house for women who are ready to tell their story. If you would like to know more about our submission process, I encourage you to check us out at www.soulspeakpress.com or follow us over on Instagram at soulspeakpress. We appreciate all your questions, and if you would like to leave us a review, we would be so grateful.